What's up, guys? As some of you may know, I recently finished the skate bobber. We are waiting for weather to clear and some locations to open back up, and then we'll be sharing a video of it in action. But in the meantime, I was getting really bored. I did some responsible things like cleaned out my ultrasonic cleaner, which was really gross, and went on some 110 rides with my girlfriend. And of course, spent some quality time with her in general.
Look at that mud. Oh my god. Okay, not in the house.
But I was getting really bored with no project going on.
Lazy.
I figured it was time to start on this 81 Suzuki GS 250T. When I bought this bike 2 years ago, it looked like this. Now, it looks like this. This bike is an absolute blast, and I've basically been temporarily painting parts as I modify or make them with plans to Cerakote everything once it's done, and I'm finally able to dedicate all my time in the garage to this project. After a couple fun rides, I gave the bike a wash, and was able to get in my garage and get ready to start actually working on this thing. On that note, we basically have a baseline, or a starting point. After a few trail rides on the bike, I decided having a rear fender wouldn't be such a bad thing. I dug around in my parts bin and found the scrap piece from when I chopped the front fender of this bike. At this point, I'm just trying to widen out the fender a little bit, and the way I'm going about doing this is trying to make a sharper curve on the sides and purchase myself a little more material up top. So here we're going about doing a test fit with some temporary mounting, trying to get everything straight so that I can mark the holes that I will be using to mount this fender. Once the holes are marked, we're able to drill them out. I ended up using 1/4 inch holes for this because of the hardware that I intend to go with to mount the fender itself. At this point, I'm just shaving down a bit of the frame. It kind of had some beefy welds on it that served almost as positioning brackets for the original tail section of this bike. So now that we're obviously not using anything mounting outside of this, I don't need the specific shape on the end, so I'm just going to grind them and try to round off the frame rails as best I can. I'm using the original rear fender from this bike just to protect my rear tire from sparks. Now we are test fitting it through the holes that we intend to mount it with, and I opted to go ahead and sandblast this just because I will be painting it. I'm going to temporarily spray paint this, and then I will be ceramic coating it once I've kind of finalized all the pieces on this bike. Now we're kind of adding a bit of an extension. When I mocked it up, I saw that it's not really going to do its full purpose. It'll block all the mud from flying up over the seat, but it would still be covering the bottom of my seat with mud. So taking a very thin piece of metal, because the last thing I want to do is add any extra weight to this little 250, and just mounting it kind of as a mud guard. This is something you would see on dirt bikes, but generally made out of rubber or plastic. So we just riveted that in and mounted that up. And as you see here, I actually changed the battery box up. It had this really floppy, ugly one that I cut out of sheet metal a couple of years ago. So now it's going to be securely mounted and it's a little bit more out of the way. I took the bike for a test ride with my girlfriend, and everything seemed to hold up pretty well. It was much more quiet, no rattling, no mud on me. I hope you guys really enjoyed seeing this process on the rear fender, and I hope you guys are as happy as I am with the way it turned out. Stay tuned, this is definitely the project bike that we'll be switching over to for a bit, so be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you guys want to see.